What up, what up, what up, man? Listen, home by Popular Demand, Pnoid's now selling merch. Man, look here, all right? We got 3 designs. We got the Pnoid Gorilla regular avatar. We have the Red Dead Redemption. And on top of that, man, listen, we got motherfucking Angry Gorilla, all right? We got t-shirts. We have onesies for your baby. Take your baby and turn it into a baby gorilla. On top of that, we got pillows. Come cuddle up with the gorilla. And on top of that, we got cell phones and mugs. Cop you some merch right now.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. That would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place for people in the worst kind of way.
9, 8.
All right, Tom Pease, we are live.
What up, what up, what up, and welcome to motherfucking Pnoid Live. God damn it, we have a great show for y'all tonight, man. Listen, I got my team lined up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got my fucking team lined up. I wanted to make sure that I had my motherfucking niggas with me. I got my boy fucking Sinrise, Talon McLeod, and my boy Ambivalent Cam, the smartest nigga on YouTube who nobody goddamn listens to because they all feel intimidated by his goddamn genius and shit, right? But with me, as always, of course, running the motherfucking operation is my boy Accelerate, the only nigga with bedazzled motherfucking knee pads. What's up?
Dude, so I actually had to go get my car, my tags renewed today. There's a reason people run around with their fucking tags expired for so long. And it's because it took me, like, so I had to go get an oil change, and I thought Jiffy Lube still did inspections. Apparently they don't, but whatever. So there goes 30 minutes. I go to Firestone. I'm like, hey, dude, can I get an inspection? And he's like, I can schedule in for tomorrow. And I was like, that's not going to work. So I go to some mom and pop place, and they're like, we can get you in an hour. Then I show up to the DMV, and I wait for like an hour and a half there. Before I know it, it's like 5 o'clock, and I was supposed to be working afterwards. And I emailed my boss. It was just like, dude, it's 5 o'clock and nothing came in. I'm just done.
Let me tell you something. The DMV is one of the most useless organizations that still exists. It could be replaced by a server in a basement and a website.
Yo, do you want to hear how bad the DMV is here?
All right.
It's called the DOT, and they don't even take debit or credit cards. You have to hit the ATM and give them cash.
Yeah, they at least do that now. So here's what's fucked up is, the last time I had to go to the DMV was 2 years ago, and it was still ran by the Missouri Department of Transportation. And they actually had a cool system where you could go in, and they had this little like electronic thing where you could type in your phone number, and it would send you updates whenever you moved up in line, which was fine, right? Because you just go to the DMV, you get shit, you walk out, and do whatever the fuck you want if it's going to take more than 20 minutes.
None of that shit would be necessary.
Fine. Yeah, well, they got rid of it all. And they replaced it with some contracting company that runs it, and now it's just back to the regular old ticketing system. So I go in there, and the place is completely fucking full. There's like one seat to sit in the entire time, and I sat there for an hour and a half. So
I live in a tiny town up here in the mountains, and actually the DMV is not bad because there's only like 3 or 4 people in it at any given time, and it's still kind of like old school. So it's not full of a bunch of stupid technology just to support the whole fact that the DMV there's no justification for it existing anymore. It's completely irrelevant, completely inefficient, overblown government bullshit.
Yeah, actually,
and let me be real. The whole thing is nothing but black females. Like, there is not a white person behind the goddamn
pretty much,
fucking
dude.
window.
In the city, it's definitely. There's still rednecks up here, but yeah, in the city for sure.
Yeah. Yo, it's annoying, but like the real, like, yo, I'll be honest, they got like fucking like 35 or 40 fucking windows. So like you get in and out remotely quickly. Like it's not that bad. I think the last time I was there like maybe 45 minutes. Like, and that's not awful. Yeah, well, they
that's pretty quick.
But yeah, don't go there on like a Friday or a Monday. Like, just don't do that. You have to go there in like the middle of the week during the daytime.
Yeah.
Yo,
Fuck the DMV.
Add moderator, color me triggered. Welcome. Oh, let me say what's up to the chat real quick before we get started, man. Fucking yo, what up, Gulf City peasant memes of destruction, motherfucking. Hang on, going down through. We got motherfucking object of hate. What up, Nelco Mar production? Welcome to the motherfucking channel, dude. Let's be frank. Welcome, my brother. As always, it's nice to have you out here. Solomon Grundy, like yo, they said you was here, like, and I was like, dude, who the fuck is that nigga? You know what I mean, I don't know who you are, but welcome, dude. Apparently, you have a rent. Third Reich, welcome. Beyond my purview, welcome. Crazy E, welcome. Radical Rick, Ryan himself, my brother. What the fuck is going on, motherfucker?
Hey, that's my co-host.
Yeah, Ryan himself, the co-host from the motherfucking Insomnia Show, one of my favorite motherfucking people on YouTube. And color me motherfucking triggered. How the fuck you doing? Welcome and have yourself a wrench. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming out to Pnoid Live tonight, dude. Look, we're gonna be going into some deep, heavy economic shit tonight, and I'm gonna get to do practice my autism. So that's really where we're at. You know what I'm saying? Accelerate.
Hey, before you jump into that, can I say something?
Sure,
because Let's Be Frank is in the chat. I just gotta say something, dude. That thumbnail. I don't know if it's your last video, but really recent, with like CNN projected winner, DNC. Like it looked so official. It tricked me at first. I'm like, wait, what? There was Republican debate, and I'm like, oh, DNC projected winner Donald Trump, dude. That was a fucking on point thumbnail, dude.
Well, yeah, I mean, you saw the video before the stream. That's with the Democratic debates. As more and more go on, the more and more I'm just like, who was the winner of that debate? Donald Trump.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. I just had to say that, dude.
Yeah. Laughing man, what up? And yo, apparently beyond my purview is Jesse Wilson. Look, man, the last time I stood here and fucking said somebody's old fucking screen name, like yo, they were like, nigga, that is dead naming somebody. I was like, I don't know how the fuck the internet works. All right, like yo, look, I'm boomerish when it comes to that shit. Like, don't fucking hold me to extra nonsense. I don't understand. All right,
fuck that dead naming shit anyway. Fuck anybody who says that. If you go like, don't use it, you when you use it anymore. Fuck you.
You know what? Before that became political, I'm like, all right, whatever, I don't care. But now that it's like they're trying to make it law and shit, I'm like, nope, I'm specifically going to not do that now. Fuck you.
Yeah, I don't know what niggas is doing. You know what I'm saying? Legit. I don't fucking know. But like, if you want me to respect your new name, I'll do it. I don't give a fuck. Especially if you're one of my subs. If you're somebody who's not subbed to me, I don't care about you. Fuck you. I'll dead name you all day. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to do that to the niggas who watch my content. Because I love y'all. Yeah. Y'all the best people in the world as far as I'm concerned. And hit that thumbs up button, motherfuckers. Goddamn, we got 4 likes, 23 people, niggas, 3 people watching. What? Yo, look here, man. Don't make me reincarnate my mans. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll go over here and get some fucking smelling salts and we will get this done.
And also, don't forget, Tom Pnoid's actually dead serious about buying a fucking boat. So if you want to donate to that fund, man, we're 23 hours overdue for $1,000. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, he wants to live stream that boat.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to redo this to give it a goal for like next spring or something, right? When fishing season starts back up.
Yeah. Dude, I sent you pictures of that boat I inherited, dude. It's like this something out of the 60s, and it is almost dead. It's a project, dude.
Yeah, ship it over. Send it over like some bullshit freight down to Tom P's. We'll put it back together.
Hulk Beast, welcome, my brother. Motherfucking welcome, dude. How the fuck you doing? Goddamn, I ain't seen you around in a minute, but you always on the motherfucking comment section. My shit, it's always appreciated. We love you coming the fuck out. But anyway, in the motherfucking meantime, dude, like yo, Exel made a video before the fucking stream and shit about fucking Tulsi Gabbard smacking the shit out of goddamn Kamala Harris with her garbage ass bullshit and shit. Yo, look, I don't want to promote Tulsi Gabbard because I don't want a Democrat elect.
No, you want to have an equal ground. No, but you have to have an equal ground freaking debate. And the last debate for like last freaking election was shit. So,
well, what Tom P is getting at is he's saying the same thing I've been saying is Tulsi Gabbard's the only sane Democrat. Like if Tulsi Gabbard had to run up against Trump would have actual problems. Anybody else in the field? No, probably not. But Tulsi Gabbard, yeah, she's saying she's more anti-war. You can disagree all you want. I'm just saying, out of all the Democrats, I think she's the most.
He would have to. He would have to take her a little seriously. That'd be about the worst of it. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that Tulsi Gabbard couldn't give Trump a run for her money, but Tulsi Gabbard is just that she's 13, 16, as retarded as the rest of the fucking leftists doesn't stop her from being a fucking retard.
But the thing is, guys, listen,
agreed.
The thing is they're all about the climate change shit and the Green New Deal. But the Green New Deal is gonna spend what 90,000 to $1 million to a year.
90 trillion.
Yeah,
90 trillion.
And Tulsi Gabbard really isn't about that. But Cam, to your point, I mean, I get it, what you're saying about Tulsi, but she would actually be pushing, while the rest of the Democratic Party spurting to the left, she would be going back a little bit more towards moderation.
Well, because it makes them look bad.
Well, and you could have an anti-war left again. What happened to them?
Let's put this on the level of fucking really what the fuck Tulsi Gabbard is. All right, it's a whole bunch of dudes who want to fuck her trying to motherfucking get her elected.
Tulsi Gabbard is the embodiment of too little, too late in terms of the Democrat strategy and their chances.
I'm telling you, dude. 98% of the people who like her because they want to fuck her. It's not because I'm sure that she's.
Yeah. Most of the people that like her because her fucking natural charms work on them, and she gives them a boner.
Way to reveal my secrets, guys. Thanks.
Another thing here, guys, is she is retarded. Yeah, she has stupid motives. Yeah, motives. I mean, and the thing is, the downfall from the left is they all want to do free open borders and shit, and she wasn't talking about open borders. She wasn't talking about war. She wasn't talking about anything else.
Right.
And that's why everybody liked her the most.
Yeah, look, man. Here's where you're at. You need to learn how to separate your cock from your brain. All right, that's really what the situation is. Okay, and you can do this. Legitimately, I look at girls who I'm fucking, and I go, yo, look, seriously, if you didn't have a vagina, we wouldn't be hanging out right now. Okay. If it wasn't if a female didn't have a vagina, I would never talk to another female again.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if I can separate the two. People will talk about how hot AOC is and shit. I'm just I don't know, man. Maybe when I first saw her, yeah, but the second I heard her speak, is my penis went back inside my body.
AOC's hot if you like fucking horses.
Sorry.
But anyway,
my brain and my cock are connected to some degree.
Tom Pease, that whole shit about you separating your cock from your brain, you've done it too well to the point where your cock will go anywhere, and you have the 7 to 23 children, depending on which women you ask to prove it.
Yeah, it's like that King Missile song, "Detachable Penis." Man, it goes off on its own.
My dick has its own brain, but I don't let it fuck up. My morals, I guess, would be the situation. It'll fuck up my money, you know what I mean? But it won't fuck up my morals. That's my mentality. I don't stand here. I won't vote for a female because she's hot. You know what I mean? I don't want a female in charge of me. But I do want a female sucking my cock. That's a whole different thing. It's a whole Tara Marie, what up? You know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, right? So we had that one there last night. We had the Democratic debates, which I'm just, man, listen, all right, it's more of the same retarded ass fucking nonsense. Fucking what's his name? There was a dude I saw on the Razor Fist video who apparently stood up and said, "You're talking about giving free healthcare to illegal aliens and shit, you know what I mean? But nobody's talking about fucking jobs." And he's never going to get elected because he's a white male in the Democratic Party. So it is what it is. It's a lost cause. I say we don't give them any more airtime until they finally start weeding out some of these 27 people who are running for fucking office and shit. You know what I mean? And we get down to what the fuck we came here for, because it's a long damn video and it's gonna be a long fucking stream for us. We have some shit to really actually get to tonight. Accelerate. You want to set that shit up, my brother?
Not until I respond to Ryan, who's saying he'd fuck AOC like he was fresh out of prison and he wouldn't care. Mm-hmm. I'll be real honest. I mean, I'd fuck AOC too, probably. But after I did it, I would go directly to the police and say I was raped.
Never say dick and crazy.
That's right.
No, it's preemptive
but
warfare,
if you're gonna
man.
I have to
say one thing. The first debate, all the old, the ex-governors and shit were talking and shit about the debate. They said nobody would want to vote for them because they weren't talking about anything else. They didn't even talk about the numbers and how they're going to do it. And all they said in their minds was they were thinking about voting for Trump because how they were talking.
All right, so here's the deal. On my channel, right? I like to fucking stand here and get down to the root of shit. I want to get down to the bottom of where everything comes from. And I happen to have fucking stumbled across one of the guys who was the fucking brains behind their mentality. All right, the individuals who are telling them how their economics will work. Okay. And I think it's important that we defeat their shit at the very beginning. We need to fight it out with like the top end and stop trying to like, yo, fuck. What did Big Pun say? He said, "Fuck these thug niggas, show me the boss." I mean, we need to go to the top. I mean, and get to where these motherfuckers are getting these retarded ass ideologies from, and defeat them at the fucking root cause. And I found the guy. His name is motherfucking Mark Blythe. He's a fucking professor at Brown University of Economics. And he wants to promote the Green New Deal, healthcare for all. And he says austerity, the history of a bad idea. He says a lot of the same shit that we do. So he's an actual fucking economist, right? Mm-hmm. Like he talks about, he says the same thing about like how like when you raise the fucking taxes, you don't get any more money, that type of shit. He understands economics. Like he's an actual economics guy. He's actually brilliant and smart and bright. So I think we should get to this. And actually, did you watch the thing I sent you, Sinrise? Because I sent you the video like yesterday, the day before.
Oh man, I didn't get a chance to watch it yet.
Yeah, man, when you send you this type of stuff, man, you need to check that shit the fuck out. You know what I mean?
I know.
I see part 1 and part 2, and I thought that was pretty bad.
Real quick, in the chat before we get to this, Tom P, Darkstar Mobile just showed up and he wants a recap of what he missed.
What'd you miss? Fuck Kamala Harris, fuck Tulsi Gabbard. Stop motherfucking thinking with your penis. Don't be voting for motherfucking women. And AOC, if you do fuck her, you might go to the police and tell them you were raped immediately.
You forgot the DMV sucks.
Oh yeah, fuck DMV.
Yeah, in addition, the DMV is the fucking like the perfect definition of what securitas banality is. That is any goddamn government bureaucracy.
Amen.
That means.
Fuck Robert Smith. Let me be real with you here. All right. Like, that is not the problem with black men. And I'm going to do a whole video on this, especially after the Baltimore thing, because legitimately, like the whole reason why like the black community is where it is because of feminism, child support, motherfucking welfare. That's really the situation. It is not the prison industrial system that's fucking them up. It's the fact that like they're standing here, they're putting individuals into debt at fucking 18 years old and telling them, that they can't fucking stand here and get out of this debt. Neither you get the money, you go to jail, and you're in a fucking situation where there's no jobs, no food, no ability to survive for yourself. And, you get kicked out of your mom's house because of Section 8, you're fucking like 19 years old because no males can live there. It is what the fuck it is. All right. It's all about child support, welfare and shit. Sunday, I'm going to be on DDJ stream and we're going to have a nice long conversation about this. Because it's something I think it's very, very fucking important. And, we're going to get that done. We're supposed to be this weekend, but apparently he got busy. He's like, you didn't confirm with me. I was like, fuck, I didn't. I immediately told you, fuck yeah. But it is what it is. So Sunday, we're going to get this done. The handle business probably be about 5 o'clock. It's going to be on Twitch. I'll send a link out in the Discord and Twitters. Make sure you follow me. No, I know, but Kamala Harris just isn't the issue, right? Like, she's just not the fucking problem. Like, it's not the DAs and shit. It's not the prison industrial system. It's you got to go to the root of the fruit. Go to the root, nigga. Like, you have to go to the beginnings. You cannot deal with the consequences of what happened. That's like going like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? My head's blew up, and you replaced the head gaskets, but the reason was because your thermostat went out and your car overheated, and not replacing the fucking thermostat because you're gonna keep blowing fucking head. You got to go to the very beginning of the fucking process, kind of the situation.
Yeah, I don't think the prison industrial system created all the criminals or created a situation that they benefit from. I think they just took advantage of existing problem. Probably has made it somewhat worse, I suppose. But you address the root of the problem, and there's not going to be that market for prison systems.
Yeah,
at least not as big.
If it wasn't for the fact that you literally are bringing a man with a gun and the badge into fucking a conversation about bringing life onto this fucking planet, you know what I mean? Of course, you're going to end up with a massive amount of your population in fucking prison. Like, it is what it is. When you have like 1 in 3 black fathers have been to fucking prison over child support, not just been to prison over child support. When you have 78,000 men a fucking day being put in the county prison for motherfucking child support, when you have, you know what I mean, fucking 75% of all drug offenders in your fucking prisons are there, you know what I mean, have a child support case, maybe we need to have a fucking conversation about child support instead of having a conversation about drugs, the prison industrial system, and the reasons why people can't fucking behave. Because they tell you either you get this fucking money or bring a man with a gun and the badge to your fucking house and we're going to throw you in a fucking cage. I do believe that maybe the fucking man with the gun and the badge coming to fucking get you, that threat has motherfucking exasperated the situation where individuals are poor and don't have fucking jobs to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I mean, that just guarantees that they're not going to be able to make their fucking child support. You put somebody in jail. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, when you charge them with a fucking crime, they come out with a criminal record. How the fuck you get a goddamn job?
Too. I face the same situation, and it's like, yeah, I mean, what the? How is it supposed to work?
Well, and you're also talking about it, you're just sitting there like, well, selling drugs could put me in prison, but if I don't have the money to pay my child support, I'll definitely go to prison, so I'll take my chance on the selling drugs.
And that's the other thing, is they command the fucking resources of the whole goddamn United States intelligence community. Like, the child support will find you anywhere if you're on paper. I know a dude who manages to avoid it because he doesn't have a job on paper, he doesn't have a car on paper, he doesn't have an ID. He's off the grid, dude. And he has to like wrangle a bunch of shit just to live his life, just so that he can stay off the radar and not get arrested for not paying child support. Now he's a piece of shit.
They have international treaties with 185 countries to bring you back for child support. That is the only thing we have treaties with 185 other countries for.
Fuck it, man. I'm moving to Russia.
If you get hired at any job above the table, they'll find you.
You got to think about this too.
Credit card, anything.
If they're looking for, if they really want to look for you, all they have to do is throw up some drones. Ask Google for your face, your picture, and everything. They can post you like instantly by walking.
Yeah, it's gonna get harder and harder to hide. That's for sure.
Yeah,
because Google is already doing that shit already.
Yeah.
All right. So we have this video on leftist economics, right? And I think it's important that we break down, you know, I mean, the situation, because I would love to sit here and talk about child support all fucking night, like it is the goddamn fucking bane of the existence of human beings at this point. But, you know, I mean, at the moment, you know, I mean, where we really are is we need to fucking like break this shit the fuck down, because I find it to be highly interesting, me personally, and I think that everybody can learn from it. I think that anybody who watches this afterwards would learn from it. And I think you need to see the root. I think it's important we go back to the fucking root. We have to start at the very beginnings of all this shit. Where is all their fucking retarded nonsense coming from? You know what I mean? And this dude here is where all their economic bullshit comes from. So I believe me, Excel, and Cam are in the thing. You two are going to watch it on the stream, right?
Yeah.
Sinraz?
Yo, yeah, I'm going to watch it on stream.
All right, Excel, you got it loaded up?
It's up. It's on screen. I'm just you have control, Cam. If you need excuse me, if you need to stop, just yell stop, and then I'll pause it.
Please, Cam, please sound off and yell stop, all right? Because I want your fucking input. There's a reason you're here, all right? Because I know you're smarter than me. Let's rock and roll.
I remember why or under what conditions I agreed to do 3 things in 2 days. Let alone to have that title, because I that was you. Was that me? I must have been high at the time.
I'm very persuasive.
Yeah, clearly. So, the dog, right? Why the dog? Because PowerPoint now has this feature where you can sort of party up your slides. And I just put in the title, so can we have it all, and it came up with a Labrador. I have no idea the significance of that or what that could possibly mean, but I'm sure on some level it has meaning to someone. I thought it was I have a 5-month-old golden retriever, so I thought, well, I suppose it's something. I mean, it's the bane of...
Now, this guy is very, very likable, all right? He is a highly likable individual. Okay. And he has a lot of shit that he's going to get correct. and he has a lot of shit that he's going to get wrong. So we're gonna break down back and forward between the two. I just want to let y'all know what the situation is, and I think his accent's fucking awesome. So we're gonna check it out.
Existence. So there we go. All right, so can we have it all? What I'm going to do is basically, because I really don't have that much to say, is to try and summarize what we've been talking about. That might actually be a semi-useful thing to do, and then put a couple of my own thoughts and reflections on it in terms of what I've been thinking about regards to this sort of project I mentioned. Basically are for everyone, the other side of Pekeri asset ownership, which obviously has clear affinities to both of the projects that these gentlemen are involved with. So without further ado, let's go on with that. So we've been talking about solidarity. So I'm riffing off Stefan at the beginning in his introduction and realizing the value of non-domination. So I hang out with Alex Gurevich, and prior to that, I spent 10 years at Johns Hopkins. So that meant that I spent a lot of time with William Connolly. William Connolly's brand of political theory doesn't give a shit about republicanism. So I was completely unaware of all of this stuff until I met Alex. And Alex is interesting because he's a Marxist who takes republicanism seriously. And I thought, ooh, I'd never really thought of that before. So the category of non-domination.
All right, yo, look. So you notice that motherfucking, like, he got his training from Marxist. All right. He opens up with that gambit. Just so y'all know.
No, he was trying to make some crazy juxtaposition though about how I have heard all arguments.
Well, no, but he acknowledged that he hadn't heard of republicanism before that. But yeah, it's kind of course, everything economic is going to come from fucking some variety of Marxism when you're talking about higher education, because there's nobody left but Marxist in the whole fucking field.
Yeah. There we go. This is why we got Cam here, my niggas.
As a sort of a different way of talking about liberal principles is intuitive. It's something that I'd never really thought of until someone told me it. And then I went, oh yeah, that does seem to be rather important and a rather useful way of thinking about things, particularly in complex work environments where people, apropos Elizabeth Anderson's lectures, really does show that domination is actually perhaps the single most serious problem that we face. So that's fine. The impediments to having it all, we can fill in.
What did you say about stop?
No, I didn't say stop. I said when he said that the Marxist system is a lot better than capitalism, and I said no, that's definitely not.
Yeah, no, it's not true at all. It's not true.
Whatever all is later on, but then of course, you know, you can recognize that non-domination is an issue, but then immediately the first thing comes up was, well, if people are dominated, obviously somebody wants them to be dominated, or there are accidents of history that have made them dominated. So what are those impediments? There was a sort of a link to a kind of recognition sympathy angle within the political theory that you were drawing on, particularly through Rousseau a little bit, and of course I was reminded of Smith, etc. as well in that sort of sense. But then there was the whole issue that was brought in later about fair value, etc., and the value of political rights above other rights. So it's not all just a smorgasbord, right? So basically there's a clear link between political rights, your ability to be a sovereign and expressive subject, and the link to domination, and those are kind of a special place, right? So I'm putting all this together in my head for the...
I'm pausing right here. Hey, Cam, what are the chances that when he gets more into rights theory that we both fundamentally disagree on what he considers is a right?
The chances are 100% because I already disagree with him.
Yeah.
At least he's acknowledging that there's an aspect. He's acknowledging that there's an aspect that's not
so much a Q&A in a conversation. I'm just throwing out themes that I think are important. And what we ended up with Stefan was a series of binaries, as academics usually do. So the rabble and the rich, then later with Stephanie, party members and voters, voters and the politicians, nations and states, global and local. So there we go, that's the first one. Now I've got the strategies for having it all. So that was, as I'm just calling them shorthand, the LDS and POD, Liberal Democratic Socialism and Property, known in democracy as the twin frames. So in graduate school, I'd read Romer and I'd followed some of the stuff on voucher socialism, etc. Alex Gurevich, again, had a recent sort of revisioning of that proposal in Jacobin, which I'd had a look at. And I've always been a little bit skeptical of those types of things in the sense that when share privatization is a good example of this. If you give people property in the form of paper and they know they can make an instant gain, then they dump it and the whole project is obviated, right? And that you end up with oligarchical capitalism. That's clearly what the Eastern Europe.
This is one of the things that I said to you when you first showed me this. This guy makes a lot of assertions but doesn't provide any proof.
Yeah, he's made 4 assertions that are fucking obvious dog shit. First of all, at least he's acknowledging that domination is a thing, which is odd for Marxists because usually they just break everything down into an oppressor-oppressed hierarchy. So that he's thinking about it is good, but of course he's coming at it from a Rousseauian perspective, which is just where Marx came from.
This is why we got Cam, fellas. Like, you know what I'm saying? He understands shit way more than I do. Like, I have to wait until he actually gets into numbers and economics before I start understanding what the fuck he's talking about. but yeah, fucking, you know, I mean, the liberal democratic fucking socialism is not a positive way to do it. And then fucking enemy property owning democracies is, you know, probably the best way to do it so that you have the ability to have some way for individuals to move forward and upward inside of the echelon of motherfucking the society as a whole, you know, but you know, if you want your society to move forward and become better, I think you have to have property owning democracies. And I don't even think democracies more republics, but you know, it is what it is. Like you have to have somebody other than the people being able to vote for things because people will just vote for themselves.
And I'm gonna replay this, but I'm gonna defer to you and Cam on this. So already he's kind of starting on this idea of a zero-sum game when it comes to acquiring capital.
Right.
Yep, comes to the territory. They have
European example.
These types always have to assume a zero-sum game, otherwise none of their fucking theory. Well, none of the theories work anyway. But I have to start it a zero-sum game anyway because that's where they think political rights come from, because they're all fucking, you know, fucking varieties of Hegelians, and it justifies taking over economies if it's a zero-sum.
Yeah, and like they're having that mentality right now because they're saying, look, we pump fucking like, and he'll get into this later, but he says we pump $20 fucking trillion into the fucking global economy, and like we don't have any more fucking inflation. So look, there's never going to be any inflation because we continue to keep the fucking interest rates low. You know what I mean? And we're gonna get into this a little bit later into this presentation, and this is where I want everybody really to start paying attention. And what TFM's major problem is that. With it, he said fucking that the fact that individuals are voting are the fucking problem as a whole. He said people suck in general, and he has a very good goddamn point, like a legitimate, very, very good point about that, and that people are fucking voting for this retarded nonsense. It's not the leaders as a whole that's the issue. So we have to keep that in mind. But Callan, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was saying that they said that socialism works and Marxist works in so many ways, but it hasn't worked in Germany, hasn't worked in Russia, hasn't worked in China, hasn't worked in Korea. I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, and we'll keep all this in mind as we keep going. But this is an hour-long video, so I'm gonna continue it on.
Yeah, that's right.
The Swedes, however, show us another interesting version of this. Back in the 1990s, the Swedes basically did Milton Friedman and did vouchers for their public schools. But what they did was they made them all of equal weighting and value. So there was actually no monetary edge to the vouchers. So what the vouchers became was a signaling device to each other on the quality of the schools, but didn't give you access because there was no differential pricing. So they acted as a kind of signaling mechanism to the schools to shape up. So it's very Swedish if you think about it. It's very Ren Meidner, in that what you're basically doing is saying you're a low productivity firm.
Sorry, I gotta stop it. This is wrong, right? So if the Swedes did exactly what he's saying, whereas they made these vouchers, but the vouchers were equal at every school. But what he's not saying is that the schools that got the most vouchers were the most profitable.
And likewise, the schools can have their own fucking set of standards in which they'll let kids in or not, and he's obviously ignoring that because it's totally fucking anathema to his ridiculous point.
Yep. All right.
But he's saying like the schools that had the least amount
because we're raising labor.
But he's also saying that the schools that got the least amount of vouchers were the ones that said that they fucking sucked and they weren't educating the kids properly.
Yeah, but this is
which is very free market in the mentality of things.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it's very market, but the idea that these vouchers didn't have any value or they had like a static value is false because certain schools got more than the others. I mean, you could say they didn't, but what they're saying is it's an equal playing field, but the dollars that people are willing to spend for education is the same. So the shittier schools lost, which is completely free market economics.
Because what's going on is they want to have kids brainwashed to do Marxism and freaking socialism and everything else. They don't want capitalism in their minds, because if they have capitalism in their minds, it's gonna fuck them over on freaking.
Well, I'm gonna say I want to get on with the video, but I do want to say one thing about this is let's also remember that the Democratic Socialists got kicked out of the Norwegian countries about, I don't know, 30 years ago.
No, they didn't.
No.
They lost power.
Yeah,
they lost a good amount of power, which is the only reason why these voucher programs.
A lot of their policies are still there, but they don't. The Democratic Socialist parties don't run those countries anymore.
Yeah.
Well, they ran out of other people's money.
How
at
you
a certain
can take
point,
the same
you know what I
tool
mean?
and use it in a very
pushed
different
too
way
hard,
is actually
too
kind of
fucking
an
early.
interesting thing. It
You know
shows
what
us
I mean?
that these things are much more flexible than we think.
Private schools, and not only that, but the object of hate. The other half of this is the fact that it's all
both
white
of these
kids. You know what I mean?
frameworks
They don't have to worry about. They didn't have to worry about. Fucking massive amounts of minorities.
Who's a sort of a synthesizer rather than a divider. Where this is going is to suggest that they actually work better together.
Well, the thing with private school and public schools is the public schools, they can teach whatever they want. Private schools, they can't, because they're getting paid by whoever's running the school.
Yeah, but they have, like, over in Sweden, they have a fucking universal curriculum they have to follow by.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's a top-down dictatorship in fucking Sweden. Like, it was legitimately set up almost, it was set up under the German Nazi control, basically. That's why, like, back in the 60s and 70s, like, they had central planning units in, like, fucking Sweden and Switzerland, countries like this. And, like, you'll have places where there'll be, like, 5 or 6 or 10 sinks in a fucking kitchen. Like, if you're buying a house or moving in someplace, because they planned on having commune living back then.
Yeah, but now Germany is way different than what they are till, like, back then. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. But it was all set up in a different manner. So, like, but the school systems haven't changed. You know what I mean? They haven't adapted to, like, the newer way of doing things. It's just like the fucking government hasn't adapted to a newer way of doing things, even though, like, the world itself has fucking changed and adjusted. You know what I mean? Like, the government hasn't adjusted to the fucking internet age, at the age of information.
Yeah.
They're still operating on the same fucking, like, 1940s principles.
You know, it's interesting.
What's up, Sinrice?
With the schools, you know, most other countries based their school systems on, you know, the United States, how, you know, we started doing that. And we're the ones who haven't changed. It's fucking ironic.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, we had the first ones. But we're going to keep going.
Means and ends, right? Essentially, both of these frameworks aim to make domination impossible. And as somebody who's a sort of a synthesizer rather than a divider, where this is going is to suggest that they actually work better together than apart. So that may be heresy and I may be treading on fractures, but I don't actually know, but I'm going to go for it anyway. So that's the issue of compatibility and exclusivity. Alan gave us a frame about 4 floors. I thought was a really useful way of thinking about that. I'd read Minsky. I've taught Minsky.
Hang on.
But the way that Minsky gets
go ahead.
Well, I was saying, he was just saying that Marxist works together, but not separates. But that's totally bullshit on that one, because I could actually say this one because I know about the German economics and everything else, and they actually divided people more than they brought it together. Companies were slowly closing down because they didn't know what the fuck they're doing with Marxism. So that one was a totally bullshit lie right there, what he just said.
Well, sort of. It starts off as conquer and divide, it's designed specifically to divide everything up into smaller groups so that they can easily be conquered by the bigger group that's, you know, ran by the crazy sociopath. But once they take control, then they normalize it, so then it does congregate into one thing. But the one thing, of course, is poorly ran because it's being ran by a bunch of sociopaths that think just so long as they care, they can socially construct a utopia. Of course, you can't.
Yes, that's right. But I'm just saying, the one part where you just said when they work together, not divide, that's totally the ass backwards thing that he just said.
It does seem like a lot of this stuff eventually boils down to people just don't like being told what the fuck to do. You know, like the more you let people be self-determined, the easier things seem to go. As soon as you start engineering societies and trying to make everybody like have a good time, it just, you know, there's just more and more resistance, and then you got to start shooting people.
The unintended consequences will start fucking you in the ass once you run out of other people's money.
Because what he was saying was he was trying to make people agree with what he was saying, but he was actually backpedaling what he was just saying.
Yeah.
Got you. All right, we're gonna keep banging. We're at 6 minutes into this 52
Sorry about that,
fucking minute
guys.
video.
I had to say that.
Yo, we're good, nigga. We're good. Like, yo, this is the whole point of this. It gives us an opportunity to really start hammering out ideas, you know what I mean, and like moving shit around. And I think I like these streams way better than I do like drama bullshit or fucking, you know what I mean, just the random off the top stuff. You know what I mean? I think like being able to like really having a chance to let our brains take a walk and fucking like just sit here and get into some stuff and learning from each other and exchanging ideas is really important. And that's why like I brought the guys in who are in here right now, because Sinrise always brings out the best of me, and fucking Cam like blows me away with his fucking mental ability, and Excel's fucking brilliant when it comes to shit. And every once in a while I'll shock you niggas with how fucking intelligent my ass is. So with all of us together, you know what I mean, we'll fucking get to where the hell it's at. So let's keep banging on this.
I'm really grateful for doing this, because you read the
saw a thing from Robert Smith saying that the obvious American schools are broken, systems are broken. Yes, they are.
Oh, of course. You know what I mean?
They've been broken for like since after 07.
No, they've been broken since 1979 when the Department of Education was created to basically start controlling them and turn them from education to indoctrination. And that's actually what kind of pisses this guy off, because the public school, the private school voucher thing in Sweden, even though it didn't work to stop the indoctrination, it slowed it. So that's why they're not as crazy as Germany.
Well, the crazy thing though is that these ideas, they require indoctrination because they're not good ideas. Like, they just don't hold water. When people start discussing them, they start to fall apart. So the only way to get this shit into kids' heads is to force it, you know, and don't give them the alternative. You know, don't actually teach them history. Don't actually show them the different things that people tried and what's worked and what hasn't. They have to indoctrinate them like it was a religion.
Yeah, but 50% of it, some people actually tell them, they give them like an idea, like, here's Marxism, here's capitalism, here's Republican, here's Democrat, and they divide it into like a group, and then they tell them what it is. But later schools, after I left, like 2007, it went downhill because they're trying to force the Marxism in schools now these days.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Well, you know what?
Capitalism's racist.
Yo,
hold up. I went to school in the early '90s in high school. There was definitely a liberal bias going on.
Oh, absolutely. But yo, we got our brother Turf Flinging Monkey done popped up. I done sent you to my circle link, my brother. Right, fucking you can, you know what I mean, hop in and, you know what I mean, like, yo, sit and listen with us and help us out.
What's up, TFM?
What are we talking about?
We're breaking down. Remember I sent you that
Marxist.
Yeah. I sent you that Mark Blythe video, and we're breaking it down piece by piece a little bit. Figure, you know what I mean, you probably enjoy it because I know you like economics.
I mean, it's stuff I know. So, like, where are you right now? Like, what part of how we got here, history, have you already talked about?
We didn't make it past
we're barely
his
into
bullet points.
Yeah, we're barely into it, man. We're at 6 minutes into the video.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, if you really want to know how we got here, where this all comes from, it precedes everything. Like, you just have to talk about what is economics. Economics is it's the study of, but like, why is it necessary? Is because we live in a world of finite resources with alternative uses. And so because we live in a world of finite resources with alternative uses, we have to economize. That's all an economy is. And that's what economics is, the study of the use of finite resources with alternative uses and the trade-offs you have to make, the consequences. Like, if you choose to put your money in A, you don't get B. And what are the consequences of A? What are the consequences of B? That's all economics is. It's like the study of causality.
Yeah.
So now the reason why there's different schools of economics is because we have different values as human beings. There's no one universal set of values that all human beings share. For example, if you look at the political trichotomy, I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with that. You have 3 points of the triangle. You have the individualist capitalist, you have the communists, and you have the absolutists. The individualist capitalists value freedom, that's their highest value. The communists value equality, that's their highest value. And the absolutists value stability, that's their highest value. And none of those, like, all three of those are mutually exclusive to one another. You can't have one except at the expense of the other two. And so human society is always just back and forth with different groups, and it really depends on basically where you fall in this society. So if you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you have good genes, you had good schooling, you're intelligent, you're set up for success in life. Most likely, you're going to be an individualist capitalist because you're going to look at the government as a noose around your neck, taking your money and not really doing anything to benefit you. It's basically benefiting everyone else at your expense. And so you want the government out of your way. However, imagine you're born disabled, retarded, or just in a bad socioeconomic position where you have to work much harder than your peers in order to succeed, and you don't have the best work ethic. So you're going to be a communist because equality only benefits those who are inferior. Anyone talking about equality, this is like a Nietzsche quote, nobody is more inferior than those who bitch about equality. Now, that's a paraphrase. He didn't say those in that exact way. But that's anyone bitching about equality, they're basically admitting they're inferior. And so equality benefits them. It's really not altruistic to complain about and advocate for equality when you benefit from it. It's essentially self-interest cloaked in altruism. So that's really what communism is. Communism are the losers of capitalism, and the individualist capitalists are the winners of capitalism.
Well, the only thing I would say the only thing I would add to that is there's also the utilitarian approach as to like what method of or mode of economics can we use that will maximize the most prosperity for the most people, right? Well, and the Marxists will say it's going to be the one that's equality based, but the capitalists will say it's actually going to be free market economics will raise everybody up.
But that's not separate. See, you're saying, oh, the utilitarian approach, helping the most people. You're making a value judgment. You are just saying, without saying it, that all life is equal. Because if all life is equal, then clearly the best course of action is that which saves and preserves and enhances the most people. Regardless, like imagine you like the quintessential, thought experiment. You have two train tracks, and on one side you have 100 single mother welfare sponges, and on the other side you have 10 Nobel Prize winning scientists. Now, the utilitarian approach is to save the 100 single mothers because they are 100 people compared to 10. But you're making a value judgment that life is inherently equal. All people are equal. All life is equally valuable. But if you think about it for a couple seconds, or if you don't have that value, like the utilitarian approach, it's based on equality, whether you understand it or not. This idea that life is intrinsically equal. One life is equal to another life. But if you think about it, that's never true anywhere else outside of religion or these moral absolutist statements. Because clearly all life isn't equal. You wash your hands, you're killing bacteria. Clearly you value your health more than the life of that bacteria, and you don't care. We kill and eat animals all the time. Life, even when it comes to humans, we don't value all people equally. You would care, the people you care about, your family and loved ones, you value more than meth head strangers, robbing, killing, and raping kids. Like, you would kill them in a heartbeat. Like, you don't care about life in general.
I want to stop you real quick because when I said utilitarian, first off, I'm not a utilitarian, but what I was thinking about when I talked about the utilitarian approach is assigning more than just one life is equal to another, right? Like the utility, I definitely would believe that the utility of certain lives are higher than the utility of other lives.
Well, then you can't judge anything by the amount of people it helps.
Yeah,
if you just go by raw, if you just go by raw numbers, that favors equality. You're basically favoring communism. Now, whether you actually help a lot of people or starve them to death, that's irrelevant. Communists don't care whether it works. They care about it because morally, according to their morality, it is the right thing to do. Taking people's money.
I think that's the thing that you're missing from the utilitarian definition.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the utility is to maximize it for everybody.
Yeah, talking about maximizing it for everybody, but that's the problem with it in that most utilitarians don't break it down in so black and white a situation. So on your triangle, where you have the absolutists on one side, the communists on one side, and then the capitalist libertarian types on one side, most people would meet at. If you consider those dimensions, each dimension, most people would meet in the center, and it would like branch out with Y's. going to the center of each one of those lines, whereas, you know, there would be a little bit of a fade down into the extremes. And most people find extremes, and I believe definitely utilitarians wouldn't be that. Utilitarians could go to each one side of those things, because rather than saying it's best for everybody, they say what's best, what works the best, and what actually comes with the best outcomes. And some of them will go with the communist idea. Some of them will go with the authority. You know, I think that's just too simplistic and black and white. Whereas utilitarianism, I think like Mill is completely rooted in gray.
Well, you're right. So when you're talking about where is the center, what is the middle, what is the happy medium, the answer is human nature makes it so dynamic that you can never find that. Basically, in America, for example, if you make $31,400, you're in the top 1% of the world. However, that is below the median income. So you're basically lower working class, and you're in the top 1% of the world. So in America, you could be in the top 1% of the world and still feel poor. You certainly don't feel like the top 1%, because in America, everything is relative. So even if you have a free society that has an unamazingly high standard of living, and everybody is living like essentially kings, like even people in poverty have a standard of living people could only dream of 100 years ago. But it doesn't matter, because they will still be resentful and envious and spiteful because they aren't living like the 0.001%. Like, so this idea of what helps the most people, well, we need to establish what do we value. Emotional stability, people in America are not poor. Nobody in America is poor. Like the homeless, there's so many shelters and programs. If you're homeless, it's usually because you're on drugs, you got kicked out of shelters or like some people just want to be homeless. They've done documentaries about Slab City in California, or the people wandering the streets in San Francisco. They want to be homeless. They like the lifestyle. So you'll never actually, no matter what you do, no matter what economic system you employ, you will never get rid of the destitutely, like abject poor, because some people, like, they do it either because they make really poor decisions or they enjoy that lifestyle.
Oh yeah, of course not. I don't think. I guess to get on your first point, yeah, I completely agree with you that you're never going to get rid of that. It's just a part of human nature, and due to the how many variables there are in the human brain and how the environment reacts to that, people are going to just do whatever it was that they want to do. And I don't think that you should even consider trying to fix all of the world's problems, because you can't. It's impossible. There's no such thing as utopia. But you're not even looking for you don't even want to find the center of this triangle that you want to find, because actually there probably won't even be anybody but bees there, because nobody is that centrist. It would be
even if you found it, let's say you found the perfect mathematical ratio of this economic breakdown produces the most or the highest standard of living for the most people. And so we should do this. And mathematically, if you go 1 degree to the left or to the right, it's going to hurt slightly more people than it helps. And thus we should always keep it at this exact ratio. Even if you did that, and even if all your math checked out, imagine being the person who's just didn't make the cutoff. Like, you know, like let's say you took 4th place. You know, you didn't get shit. Like the other guys got medals and you took 4th, you get nothing. You know, so you're that one guy who everyone else gets helped except you. You're gonna pitch a fit. You're gonna be like, look, it's just can a brother get a hand? And the problem is those people who are left behind will simply become resentful and bitter and angry. And if they can't win in the system you've constructed, even if it's objectively, correctly, the most equitable system for the most people, if they don't win, they will pitch a fit. Politicians will pander to them, advocate on behalf of them, and they will try to move the goalposts to benefit them. And that's what politics is. It's basically it's a constant battle between the winners and the losers. So one party represents the winners, one party, well, typically now it's essentially different groups of people screwing over the taxpayer because there's no one representing the taxpayer.
See, I disagree with that too. I think that's also too black and white. And understand, I'm not advocating some again, for your thought experiment, it's fine to think about it to see if you can perfectly engineer.
If you politics is black and white. I'm sorry.
It's not black and white. It's not black and white.
We have a two-party system.
It's not, because the person that's in 4th place may be easily, you know, like swayed by the communist side or the authoritarian side, but it's not a guaranteed necessity that they will fall for that side, because a lot of people will in that situation say, well, I guess I just have to work harder, which is why I personally would go with I'm not a utilitarian either. I think John Stuart Mill was wrong. I would, in your classification of the triangle, I would definitely be in the libertarian capitalist variety. and only because not only do I think it's the best way of maximizing its efficiency and success, but that's not why I want to do it. I want to do it that way simply because I think any other way of doing it is a guaranteed way of turning your society into dog shit, fucking up your culture, ruining everything about your economy and society and your culture. And I think that the most important thing is just codifying the individual natural right concerns and then making everything stem from that. But because of that, you can't say that all politics is for black and white, because I mean, even in your ideogram, it's like three-way. And incidentally, what I'm trying to say about this whole thing is it's a whole bunch of different fucking spectrums if you consider each line of the triangle a dimension. And so nobody will just line up right on the communist side or the authoritarian side or even the capitalist side. It will be some degree on that line or some place in between on the line. Nobody will line up in the center, but it'll like come to a distribution like a Y.
Well,
Going from the center of each line.
You're right from an individual perspective. From an individual perspective, all politics, all beliefs, all values are very individualistic, and there is no black and white. But from the bigger you get, the larger the group, everything must necessarily be boiled down to very simple black and white issues, because the human brain just can't process that level of complexity. So, for example, you have, like, if you think of the right, in air quotes, the right is simply a patchwork of different groups, ideologies, beliefs, and political groups which oppose the left. There's very little uniting them. You have all kinds of groups who oppose the left for various reasons, who have absolutely nothing at all in common with the other groups which oppose the left for entirely different reasons, but they are considered the right. And that's the thing about politics, is the larger the group, the more simplified the political process is. And in America, we have a two-party system. So you either vote for the Democrat or the Republican. And it's like that necessarily. The whole point of the two-party system is it creates the least objectionable politics, because everything boils down to the center, the lowest common denominator. Now, you may, if you're, I'm not saying you're an extremist. Like, I'm an extremist by the current Overton window, because I want small government and minimalism. But the Overton window dictates what is acceptable public discourse. And if you fall outside that triangle, you're considered an extremist. Extremists, almost by definition, never have representation within the two-party system, because the two-party system will always boil down to the centrists. So essentially what you have in a two-party system country, the centrists squabbling over minor issues, and then the people on the extremes, the communists, the people who want small government and constitutional values no one represents them. Now, what's funny is, because of immigration and whatever, the Overton window is shifting to the left. So now communism is starting to become more prominent. But that's just a process of the Overton window. That's a process of immigration policy. Vote stealing, all that fun stuff. But doesn't that just by itself demonstrate that it's not a black and white issue, and that it's a whole bunch of different nuances, and what's acceptable in that nuance moves around with the window? And incidentally, I also disagree. I think the Overton window is just spreading both left and right, because both you're talking about is the big party umbrella thing, where if you vote for me, I'm talking. But okay, sure. There's people talking on YouTube as long as they can until they get deplatformed about what would be considered extreme issues. But those are not publicly accepted. This is why you have to worry about being doxxed. This is why you have to hide your identity, because it's not publicly acceptable. And no one on the national stage represents you. Nobody. There's what politician represents the alt-right, for example? Are there any politicians that are members of the alt-right that are serving in office right now? There's hardly
slim.
Not a goddamn one. So just because there's an alt-right presence on 4chan and they're spreading their Pepe memes does not mean that the Overton window is spreading. They're just people spreading Pepe memes from 4chan. Well, of course not. The alt-right, incidentally, is not right-wing. Actually, I would be probably on your side in that I would be considered an extremist, because I'm extremely right wing, but I have nothing to do with the identity politics crap, because I'm using the American definition, where we divide things by individuality, and then therefore how the government should react to that individuality, and therefore set forth your natural rights to protect them, and then do the minimal amount of things necessary to make the society function. But you're right that there isn't any. You're an individualist. You're an individualist. That's fine. But the alt-right is part of the absolute right. There isn't any alt-right representation. However, there is representation of a whole bunch of different varieties, and a whole bunch of the big party umbrella thing. You'd say vote for me because you're a Democrat and I either like socialism or I like unions, or vote for me because I'm a Republican
and I don't like those things, but I do sort of like the Second Amendment, or I sort of like the First Amendment.
Yeah,
when it's
like the right is basically pro-military,
that's why
pro-Second Amendment,
therefore it can't
pro-tax
be a black and
cuts.
white thing. So if your philosophy breaks it down into a black and white thing, you're falling into the same trap as the communists.
Right. So I'm explaining to you how things work in reality, and I'm not trying to establish any philosophical, metaphysical principles.
Well, you got to
in reality,
though. The reality is it's not black and white, and the reality is it's a spectrum of people that occasionally
we have two parties.
occasionally disagree.
We have two parties. That's a fact. We have two parties. There are third parties, and they don't win elections. They're basically, you're throwing your vote away. That's just the way the system is built.
Yeah, the third party is basically a joke now these days. Because
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking even with
protest vote.
Even within the umbrella parties, you have like the Tom Tancredo Republicans, and then you have the George Bush Republicans, and that's such a wide variety. I mean, it's obvious that it's not a black and white.
It doesn't matter. So like they do polling. They do polling, and they ask like so. Let me ask you a question. So they polled people who, if you're Democrat or lean Democrat, like you're not happy with the Democrat Party, but you tend to vote with them. In 2016, what percentage of lean Democrat voted for the Democrat candidate Hillary Clinton? What percentage do you think?
It's like 60%.
I don't know, but I think it's irrelevant because the polls were shown to be wrong then anyway, and we don't elect.
Okay, all right. Well, look, if you don't, the answer is it's Pew Research, and it's 96%. And the same is true of the Republicans. Those who are either Republican or lean Republican, I would say, even if, like, I hate the Republican Party, but I'm a registered Republican because we live in a two-party system. And 96% of people who are Republican, lean Republican, vote Republican. And 96% of people who are Democrat, lean Democrat, vote Democrat. There's like 4% that vote for third parties, or
that's obviously improvable nonsense, because what is it, like 60 million people voted in the election in a population of 300 million. 120.
All right, so you're dismissing you're dismissing statistics as a thing altogether.
I'm dismissing selected statistics. Dismissing that variety of selected statistics because it does not reflect reality. The only way that it can reflect reality is if everybody that leaned Republican or Democrat voted. But since they don't, it makes that whole point moot.
No, you're basically just dismissing statistics as a discipline. So
I'm not dismissing statistics as a discipline. That's how statistics work. That's an absolute straw man. In that I'm saying it's not actually representative of the American electorate, because not everybody who leans Republican voted Republican. There's a lot of people.
That's how statistics work. That's how. So let me explain how statistics work. You take a representative sample, you analyze them, and then as long as it's representative, it can be applied to a much larger group. But
it didn't even work in the 2016 elections, because all of the Pew statistics didn't actually get anything near to predicting how the actual election went. Therefore, if the prediction doesn't match reality, it's not real.
The statistics I just cited were from exit poll data. Not predictive polls, exit polls.
Yeah. And not only that, they were only really actually off by like 5%. Like they weren't off by like a massive amount. It wasn't like they were off by like 30 or 40. And it was well within, like, because when they stand there and they talk about the amount of like they have like the tolerances or whatever the case might be.
The margin of error. The margin of error is a factor of how big your sample size is. Like if you have a population of 1 million and you only sample 100 people, you're gonna have a very large margin of error. But if you sample 1,000 people, your margin of error shrinks significantly. The larger your sample size, the less the margin of error. And I think less than 4% is considered acceptable. But we're talking.
Usually the margin of error is 3.5 to 4%. So you're right about that. However, what I'm contesting is to say they weren't. The sample size couldn't actually be correctly codified because they're not able to get enough of a survey, even on exit polls, to analyze enough of the electorate in order to.
There's people who this is their entire job. This is their entire job. They do this. And research has been doing this for a long time.
There's people that do social sciences for their entire job, which, research and statistics in that regard is in it.
Okay.
But if you don't factorize it and actually have it based on some codified reality,
do you have any counter evidence, or are you just poo-pooing the available evidence?
The counter evidence is the actual results of the election and just the logic put into it. In that, if you can't actually get a large enough sample size to say this is what the American electorate think, which you can't because not enough people will give your survey. You're describing trends, and describing trends is fine. If you factorize the trends, it's even better. You can't actually factorize the trends when you're just doing either the predictive surveying or the exit polling, because you're not getting enough people, and you also don't. It's not the reason it's actually not scientific is because you can't rely on surveys for science, because people can just say whatever the hell they want.
You realize how often we rely entirely on surveys for science?
Yeah, we rely on a whole bunch of terrible things that don't actually work, but it seems to work enough.
Okay,
it's correlated enough, at least to a point too, so that it seems to be enough that you can make broad characterizations of the trends that are happening.
You realize
that's fine. But if you're saying that's actual science when it's not, it's actual
the economics as a thing relies entirely on surveys, entirely on collected data of representative. Like that's why McDonald's and all these big corporations, they have test locations in the Midwest, and they test new products. Like they want to test like a barbecue French fry. There's like these Midwest towns, and they build testing facilities.
Yeah, I know about those,
right. And the reason why do you think? Hold on. Why do you think they chose those specific Midwestern towns?
Because they think that we're representative of the population, and therefore they can get a better idea of what the prediction will be.
And why do you think do you think a company? Do you think they just pulled that out of their fucking ass, or do you think there might be some reason for them?
They're measuring a trend, but it's engineering. It's not scientific. And here's the problem: the economics is not based on a survey, because you can actually you don't have to survey to find out what profit was this, who made money doing this. You're talking about marketing being based on surveying, and that's fine. I agree. Marketing is 100% based on surveying. There's no other way to do it. But that's not all of economics.
Marketing isn't part of economics.
Yeah, it's obviously a part of economics, but it's not the whole thing. You said economics itself was based entirely on surveying. Well, that's not
economics. It's not.
If you're talking, you can measure it in different ways. You can't actually measure. You can't measure the economy the whole fucking thing. You can measure aspects of it. You can look for marginal trends. You can look for large trends. But it's not all dictated by that engineering survey nonsense, because that is only applicable to the things. Right. Well, again, just like marketing.
Economics. There's a thing called, what revealed preferences is?
Yes.
Okay, so economic studies revealed preferences based on collected data, like basically where people spend their money. Everyone talked, like there was this funny clip from the UK where this guy, as a prank, he went around asking British people, "Oh, would you be comfortable letting a Muslim refugee live in your house?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure." And then like, "Well, here he is. Come on out, Ahmed. Here's your new family." And they would run away because they were willing to basically virtue signal in front of a camera, but they weren't actually about to open their house to a Muslim refugee.
They were just agree, and so I think that's valid.
Right. So there's economics. The reason why economists study spending is because people can talk a lot of shit, but when they spend their money, they tend to reveal what they actually value versus what they claim to value. But all of that is still, like, even collecting spending data, you still have to assert values, and if you just collect nothing but spending data, that you still have to either have to make inferences, or you have to ask people what they value, because a lot of times the point is surveys are very much a part of economics, because you have to establish why people made these decisions, and then how they worked and what their values were, so you can figure out what's going on.
I completely agree, but it lacks the scientific verisimilitude to actually say this is hard science. It's engineering, because as you know, on the surveys they can say whatever they want, even when you're talking about spending reports, because they can hold back money. Right. They can the books,
anything involving people isn't a hard science, because people aren't always rational. Like 1 + 1 always equals 2, because numbers don't have free will, but humans do their own shit. They can do whatever. So anything involving humans is inherent. It can't be a hard science, but you can't just dismiss it like, oh, it's pseudoscience, it's gobbledygook. No, because it's extremely...
That's not what I was doing. I wasn't dismissing it to say that you shouldn't listen to it. I was dismissing it to say that it lacks the scientific verisimilitude to say anything outside of factorized predictions. Which means that it's okay. You can use it, and you can say, this is the trend that this is showing, this is the trend that this is showing. That's totally fine. But saying this is how economics works is not accurate, just simply because it's not looking at the whole thing in totality, nor is it actually codifying any part of it with real verisimilitude.
Okay. All right. So I think we have an understanding. I guess I'm done here, because you reject statistics and economics. So
no, it's another straw man. I don't reject statistics.
Right, no, you do. You're like, it's not veracity. It's not this. It's not that. So like, okay, clearly you only respect the hard scientists, which is fine.
No, that's not what I said. You're using a straw man. I respect statistics. I understand statistics. I'm a big fan of normal distributions and Pareto distributions, price distributions, all that sort of thing. What I'm saying is you can't base that as though it is a black and white thing on those surveys, which is the whole component of our contention.
That's what the margin of error is.
It's not a dichotomy. If you're falling into the dichotomy trap, you're actually falling into the communist trap of the oppressed and the oppressed and the oppressors. These people have money because blah blah blah. These people don't.
All right, great. So I'm done. Is there anything else we're going to talk about, or is that it?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to like actually get into the economics thing. That like the actual economics thing that we were going to discuss.
Let's talk about economics, not the veracity of any of the human sciences. Well, the soft science. Can I call them soft sciences? You're going to jump down my throat.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping down your throat. I'm saying bringing it into a black and white dichotomy is the wrong way to look at it, especially when you're basing it on something so soft as surveys.
Yeah, you have to be able to use statistics to make predictions for things so that individuals can stand here and have the opportunity to conduct business in a proper manner, so they know that like, hey, look, we're going to end up bringing out some one thing or another.
And this kind of like, oh, you can't say that, it's not black and white. This is the kind of soft thinking that people say, like, we could communism could work if we implement it right. We just didn't implement it right. It's like, no, it never works because of human nature. But you can't prove human nature.
The whole point of communism is to break everything into an oppressed dichotomy. I'm saying I reject the oppressed dichotomy because things are
a lot of things. You reject a lot of things,
and you don't know what you're talking about. I'm just going to come out and say that. If you're going to use straw mans to try to fucking paint my position as something that I'm not making it, you don't know rhetoric. You don't know how to argue. I'm not saying you're stupid. You're a smart fellow, and you're actually pretty good at it because you're very, forceful. But there are other aspects to it. Where if you're trying to think black and white when it's actually nuanced,
this is why I don't like debates, because here we are. We're not talking about shit. These guys like, oh, you don't know rhetoric. You don't know this. You've scored all the debate points. You've won the debate. Can we talk about something of substance now? You can go fucking jerk yourself off with your trophy from the debate.
I don't like the way that you formulated your argument because I think that it's wrong.
I don't give a shit what you think about my argument. You don't have a counter argument.
I gave you 4 fucking counter arguments right there. All you're doing
you did. You just dismissed statistics and economics.
You throw out goddamn straw man and you're jumping into ad hominem. I'm fine to have this discussion.
Oh my God,
economics. But if you're going to talk shit
your philosophy
I'm going to fucking knock you back down.
You're not going to do shit. All you are is a fucking dipshit who learned what logical fallacies were in college, and you don't know shit about economics. You dismiss shit you don't understand.
More ad hominem.
You fall back. More ad hominem. Oh my God. Oh, let me fucking jerk myself off with my fucking philosophy degree. Oh, you don't know Socratic method. You don't know how to form an argument. Oh, I'm going to write a book about, let me spit in my hand and jerk myself off to Socrates. Are we gonna? So clearly you don't know shit.
All that you have then. I'll have you're fucking competing with me for not having a counter argument when I'm giving you counter arguments. It's time for you to shut the fuck up and watch the rest of this goddamn video so we can discuss real economics instead of stroking your fucking ego.
See you, Pnoid. Have a good night.
All right, my brother. I'm sorry. Yo, Cam.
That was fun. What's up?
Well, that escalated quickly.
Why? Why? That was unnecessary as fuck.
There was nothing unnecessary about it. I started by saying I disagree with your point, and he couldn't handle that I disagreed with it. That's what that was.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest, man. I'm gonna have to rewatch the stream because I'm low IQ, so I'm gonna have to figure out what was going on there. I really. A lot of shit just blew right fucking by me, but you guys were talking fast enough and you guys had that energy, that oomph behind the argument that I believed it. You guys were really, really going at each other's throats, which was funny. The funniest thing about it is I know you Cam and I know TFM because I watch his videos. You guys agree on a lot. Like probably almost everything.
You agree on every fucking thing. Yeah, and he just left. I told Tom P, you need to fucking moderate, man. And he's Tom P. I was trying to find like middle ground, nigga. Like you both agree on everything. Like he's a super libertarian.
The reason why we say I think that since we have similar personalities, we were just going to butt heads if we disagree on a point. And again, I was disagreeing with.
Well, you guys got to try.
I wasn't even saying it was wrong.
The whole idea is to keep egos out of it. You shouldn't be getting pissed because you get to disagree. That kind of ruins it. You know what I mean?
I'm
not pissed.
I know everybody.
You kind of fool me, dude.
You got a little bit fucking heated, but
you told him to shut the fuck up and sit down, nigga.
Yeah, that's a personality.
You shouldn't be doing
that. Don't come so hard. I come hard as you come at me. I wasn't actually mad at all. That's how I debate. I mean, I do this shit for fun all the time.
All right. That's
the most fucked up thing is that you guys were arguing like not over like the broad spectrum of what you would disagree with, right? You guys were talking like we're talking about like this is what happens when you get two libertarians in a room debating about shit. And like you're arguing in this like small space that nobody else that disagrees with you, which is like most of the population, could ever possibly fucking would even think about. They don't even understand what's going on. I didn't understand what was going on with like 99% of it. Part of it is because I'm drunk.
You think I had any idea? Like they were talking about they were talking about college subjects, nigga. I was gone. Like I had no place to jump in.
I'm gonna have to rewatch this shit the same way we're trying to go through this fucking My Circle video. Like,
I was trying to explain
this. That debate would be a good thing to do a video on.
I'll be taking fucking notes.
You're gonna break it down and do a video.
I'll be taking fucking notes and shit. And you know what? To be honest, is if we could find somebody to actually moderate whatever the fuck you guys were disagreeing on, man, like I think
we need to find somebody smarter than me to moderate this shit. I'm not intelligent enough.
You couldn't possibly moderate something like that because that was a clash of personalities. And again, I don't think he's a bad guy. I do think that he's smart. I do think that
clash of personalities. Right. You know what? The only thing I think is that you're actually a lot like him.
Yo,
we are so much alike that we butted heads over us, like a fucking minor detail on part of his argument.
Cam, are you familiar with?
Did this start with me talking about the utilitarianism thing, and then you just ran from that because you took it away from me?
Have you watched his videos, Cam? Are you familiar with TFM at all?
I've watched parts of his videos before.
I would recommend you watch a little more because the dude does. I think he really does know what he's talking about, but I understand why it might not seem like that. But
I was coming at him hard like that because he was coming hard at me. If you're gonna add hominem to me, I'm going to come back at you fucking harder. Just how I operate, and that's obviously how he operates too. You come at him hard, he's gonna come harder. So it just cycled out of control.
Fair.
And I actually wasn't disagreeing with him. I agree with his triangle point. I agree with most of the things that he was saying. I just don't like an aspect of his argument. And I think that aspect of his argument was making it so fucking untruthful because I think you have to always shoot for the truth that I just had to say something.
Yeah, I would not accuse TFM of not being truthful. I mean, maybe wrong, but not untruthful. The guy's...
I wasn't saying he was lying. I was saying...
Like, let me put it like this. You shouldn't have talked over him. It's kind of... that's the part where you went wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to, like... If you're going to have a conversation about something, this is what we do. Like, we have conversations. We don't fucking debate.
I had to, because I kept trying to make a point about that utilitarian thing initially, and he kept talking about me and telling me things I already knew. I'm only gonna, fucking deal with that for 10 times until I'm just gonna come back at you.
I literally have no idea what the fucking utilitarian thing's about. Like I didn't understand the fucking debate, so like I couldn't.
It's actually not important because he and I both agree that utilitarianism is nonsense. I just didn't like the way that he characterized it, but more I just didn't like the way that he was characterizing how you fucking codify and quantify exchange.
Yeah, well, like I want to go back to exactly what my argument was. I think Cam understands, right? So utilitarian would be one of the things I didn't point out because I thought it was obvious is we presume there's a set of metrics that you can quantify to quantify what human prosperity, right? Does that sound correct?
Kinda.
That is an aspect of utilitarianism, yes.
Well, yeah, no, like so in the what I was trying to say is he put up these 3 points, and what I was saying is which of these will maximize that value for the most people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, my argument,
and it could be a binary value, right? Like it could be they're living a life that
but the point.
My argument is
when you start getting into the topic of most people, that is somewhat of an equality type argument. You know what I mean? That the point of it was there really is no such thing as most people.
No.
I don't know. That makes sense.
No, I get it. But
that was his point. He was saying if you
I understand.
So you jump into the equality thing, but that wasn't what Exel was talking about. Yeah, utilitarianism isn't about what most people; it's about what works.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Is the utilitarian argument would look at all three of this and
what do you mean by
which would have the most utility. Well, you would have to set your measures, and there's also known measures of what almost everybody argues about as to what would be the best for the most people. And I will say,
but that's exactly the point.
I will say this is that the actual Marxist or people that value equality over everything, they would not have the same metrics that everybody else would use to say that life is great right? Their value for equality is so high that they would sacrifice things like life expectancy, access to food, and clean water just to make sure everybody was equal.
There definitely are some baseline things that you can probably 99% of people are going to agree. Yeah, that's, access to food and water, shelter, stuff like that, of course.
No. Yeah, you would say 99% of people agree, but Sinrise, I've seen the here's a great survey question, and it was like that fucking Peter Thiel guy or whatever the fuck. Do you know what I'm talking about, Cam?
Yeah.
Anyway, he was talking about, would you rather have a job where you make $90,000 a year, but everybody else you work with makes $70,000 a year, or a job where you make $100,000 a year, but everybody else you work with makes $150,000 a year? And a lot of equality-minded people were like, well, I'm going to take the $90,000 a year job.
Well, what's the downfall of that is it's going to hurt the company in the long run if you go equality. But if you go,
here's the mentality. Here's the mentality. Like we should, like, I think that like really is what actually drive. I mean, it's not so much what does the most good for the most people. It's what's going to stop individuals from fucking rioting in the streets and taking your shit. Like, that's really the measure of fucking like how society really operates. It's by force. It's like how much can we fucking do before it gets to the point where you end up having individuals like riding with pitchforks and looting shit. That's really where the mentality comes from. That's how the system actually operates. Like,
yeah. But what I was trying to say is like equality is great and all, but if you look at it in the long run, it actually after like I don't know 5 or 10 years, it's gonna go downhill. You gotta think about the companies. You gotta think about everything else.
Well, like, neutral bastard. Yeah, let's go to our chat real quick, man. Neutral bastard, way to go.
He said, "I've never felt so mentally fucked by a debate." Is that mental rape? Right? This is why I bring these niggas on. Like, because like the man, look, smart motherfuckers are smart motherfuckers. Like, it is what it is. Like, then I couldn't even hang with that, and I usually understand 99% of what people say. Well, and I just couldn't do it. Like, it was just so fucking smart.
I just want to say, when TFM never joins another stream that you do, you can blame Cam.
Thank you, Cam. It's appreciated, buddy. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? I still love you. And that's why, like, I mean, like, I will always, like, fucking Exel was like, dude, we can bring people in to debate with him. I was like, no, I'm not throwing Cam to the wolves. Like, fuck that shit. I'm not throwing. Like,
well, no, it was, surplus karma. He never joined the waiting room, so I don't feel bad about it. But it was like, if you have something to say, man, you need to come into the waiting room, and, well, Tom T will drag you down as he sees fit. So, surplus karma, if you're still out there now that TFM's gone, I'll mute everybody, dude. You got a 1v1 with Cam, right? Apparently, Cam's just fucking taking matches right now, so let's do it.
You gotta look at a long run, though. That communism is not gonna work out in the long run because it's gonna.
Yeah, that's the thing. We all fucking agree. Like, we're all basically goddamn libertarians here, which is why it was so goddamn ridiculous that. Wait, I always lie. Is I can hear myself through his mic.
Yeah, but the thing. What?
Oh yeah, my mic wasn't working for a second. So again, all right. So you wouldn't you can bring anybody you want, and you won't be throwing me to the wolves. I do this shit for fun, which is fucking why I'm all right, I get some animated about it.
Surplus commer, you heard it, man. Double click on the waiting room. I will drag you down and let you say your piece to Cam.
Here's the other half of this. The reason why I was bringing this video up tonight is because, like, legitimately it goes into a lot of this shit in the history of how, like, our fucking economy has changed over the last fucking century or so, and the reasons for it, and like how it changed, how it went from, the building of the middle class to like the fucking, neoliberalism to, where we are today, and understanding like how shit operates and really why we are where we are, and I thought that was, fucking important to goddamn do, right? And like, I didn't know if TFM was going to join to my circle because the last 3 times we've asked him to do so, he didn't fucking do it, right? But I was like, I really want you to like help us break down this video because like, you have the economic background to do so.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna be real honest, Tom. I say we put that one away because we only got through the first 5 minutes of an hour video. I said we put that one away, and what we do is we make some time, like Saturday or Sunday, just to do it ourselves. Like we can live stream it, or we can just record it, whatever. But I say we just put that away for now because we're not getting anywhere in that video. Not anymore.
What I was trying to say. But you guys were muting me from what I was going to say.
Oh no, Colin, I only muted. I muted you, but I only did it because it was the Cam and TFM were like at their height. I didn't want anybody interjecting except for Tom.
Yeah, but what I was going to say was, I know capitalism is good and all, but it can fail too. You have to go in between the line and say what would do great, what would benefit everybody else. Yes, equality is good, but you gotta look at what I'm gonna try to say. New York.
Yes, you're right. If you let people freely exchange goods between each other and impose no regulations between them, shit might go south sometime. But that's fine. Like I'm okay with that. Because that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen regardless, and I would rather it happen naturally than be forced or stopped by government. Because all government can do is kick it down the can.
That's gonna fail every time. Like guarantee.
There was one thing that I have to say that he got wrong was people want to be homeless like California. Yeah, that's California, but New York, it's people are going homeless because governments are taking controls of buildings, housing, and everything because they're dirt poor on what they're doing.
Well, of course.
They have to think what they're gonna do next.
There is a segment of people. There's a certain number of people who do actually. They're tired of society, whatever. They've chosen that lifestyle. There are people like that.
There's a ton of people out there that just reject the society and they want to do their own thing. And I'm personally totally fucking fine with that. I think that's the whole point of our goddamn society is to allow you to drop out of our society whenever you want. The problem is when people become worried about things and want big daddy government to run everything for you, you don't actually have the capacity to drop in and out because they won't let you. And on to Excel's point, I want to comment on that. I completely agree. Capitalism is just as shaky and as loose and capable of falling and failing as everything else. The difference is when the government isn't like completely involved with, with its tendrils in it, the only thing that falls is individual markets, which usually can come back within, a few months or a year. Whereas when the government gets involved, everything fucking falls, everything turns to shit. So it's just better for everybody involved, if the government is as minimally invasive in the whole process as possible.
Well, another way to put it is the government actually signs the solution into law, whether or not that solution is right or wrong. While if you leave government out of it, it's you get the experiment of millions of people in aggregate doing voluntary
you can allow something
to correct
fail,
the problem,
and then it goes away, and you try something else. If it's in the law, it's a lot harder to get rid of. And most of the time, those things get put in not because they're going to work or because there's any kind of plan. It's to get someone elected.
Well, just imagine, like we talk about things like one of the principles of classical liberalism is the idea of creative destruction.
Right.
But we don't want that, right? Like when car factories go out of business because they're producing cars people don't want, our government's bailing them out.
Well, here's the part of it, right? Like here's the bitch is that, prior to 1980, like we had a very restrictive economy as far as we made sure that capital didn't leave, our fucking nation, like most nations did. And then it changed in neoliberalism in the fucking like late 80s under Reagan, like early 80s, mid 80s under Reagan.
Early 90s.
No. Reagan. No, it was under Reagan. But it
was early 90s.
The capital flight, fucking changed, and it was because of fucking rampant inflation. Like it ended up being on the point of where, every time there were more gains made by, the corporate individuals, they ended up having fucking labor would stand there and strike and take away the ability for these individuals to profit. And like all their profits were ended up being eaten up in fucking inflation because of the fact that they kept having to pay workers more. And so it switched over to where now labor didn't have any goddamn power for the past 30 fucking years, which is why nobody's had a raise since 78. That's where we are today. And then 2008 happened. When 2008 fucking happened, now it's on the level of where we have just cheap, free fucking money for every goddamn buddy. Like it is what it is. You know what I mean?
And the reason why it's that because the government was like seeing how poorly we were getting, so that they had to think of a quick strategy. But what it's doing in the long run is lowering the value in the money.
I think that they did that intentionally, and they intentionally put all this money overseas so that they could fucking make generally our culture weaker so that it would be easier to control. And I think it started actually in 1973 with Nixon in China.
Jonathan Doe in the chat makes a point, which is it's true. At least it's facially true. It's if government gets involved, it's no longer free market capitalism by definition. Government fucks everything up. Which I agree, and what I try to explain to a lot of people, like as a person that genuinely believes in the idea that free markets are the best way to do things, is that I'm not saying that property rights aren't a thing, right? Like fraud, right? If you're lying about products to sell to consumers, you're committing fraud, which is a form of stealing. Like I want that to be illegal. But I'm doing this all within the constraints of the idea of property rights. I'm not doing this within this idea that we need to regulate capitalism and people like selling shit to each other because one company might get fucking too good at what they're doing and own most of the market. I don't care about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If they're that good, I don't give a shit.
It's a crime, and the whole goddamn point of it is if somebody commits a crime, you investigate the crime and then punishment for it. But the system that we've had now, and we've actually had since 1913, is the government just regulates everything, assuming that people will commit crime so they can't commit crime, even though all that really does is give an incentive to the people that are good at getting around the law to continue committing crimes.
Well, yeah, and then they pass regulations to protect the oligopolies that are doing things that would otherwise be a crime, but they're allowed to do it because it's within the regulatory laws.
Hey, if y'all like my Spurgy friend right here who fucking based the fuck out and went, full fucking retard a little bit ago, check out his fucking channel, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has some fucking awesome fucking content on there. Legit that you should probably check the fuck out.
I don't know.
If you said you didn't understand what was going on, how do you know that I went retard? How do you know it wasn't really smart?
Man, look,
I can actually say you went half.
We don't know. We don't. But nonetheless, you went straight out like head first after Turd Flinging Monkey.
Yeah.
The biggest YouTuber Tom P is friends with, you just went straight at his throat.
Well,
and
again, I didn't mean to fuck with people, but if
you might have
say things that I think are untrue, I'm going to call you on it. I don't care who you are.
You might have ruined Tom P's relationship with TFM, but Tom P loves you enough. I don't think he cares. I think he's.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry. Here's how you do it. If you want him to come back on, just say we're not going to let that fucking asshole that yelled at you back on. So you can come back on whenever you want and then talk all kinds of shit and do whatever it is that you want to do. We're just going to not allow
unfortunately, that would make us bitch made, and I don't think me or Tom P would ever say that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't do that. Again, I don't think I did anything wrong. Fucking, he came after me, I came after him. It's how it works.
No. Like, I hold loyalty to certain individuals on here. You know what I'm saying? And you happen to be one of them. Like, you have never motherfucking done me wrong on this bitch. You have motherfucking always stood up and been a stand-up fucking dude. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm, you know what I mean? Like, fucking, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. Like, I'll fucking, it is what it is. I'll tolerate the consequences. You know what I mean? Like, that's how the fuck shit operates. Like, sometimes when you nigga throw a chair, you gotta start rioting. That's fact of life. You know what I mean? Somebody throws a chair, you gotta hit a fucking window with a brick and start stealing some fucking leather coats. Fact fucking life.
Go steal some work boots.
Yeah. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not mad. We are motherfucking 6 subs away from 2,000, my friends. Make sure y'all hit that motherfucking sub button if you are not fucking subscribed to the channel.
What I was trying to say is half of Western society is actually going broke than it is on the East side. The West side, what they're doing on the West side is they're wasting time on stupid ideas.
Going broke too, though.
and what they're doing is they're taking businesses and trying to divide it in one little business, and it's not working. What it's doing is it's gonna make the one business go downhill, and all the stuff is gonna collapse one by one.
Yep.
That's because they want the socialism in it plus capitalism, but it's not going to work both ways. It's got to go one side or the other.
Incidentally, I think you're right, and I think that's the point, and I believe that also gets back to this video we were watching when earlier the guy mentioned Rousseauian ideas, and that comes from the Hegelian dialectic, and Hegel, of course, was the guy that influenced Rousseau, and to say that the state is the most important thing, and everybody, what they should do is orient themselves towards the betterment of the state. And so all of that, Marx came from the same place. He was a young Hegelian before he went a little crazier and decided to reject the state, etc. and so forth. I think what you're talking about is exactly what's happening, and I believe that's the intention. The worse state, the worse shape that everybody is in, the more likely that they are to default their rights and their property and all that sort of thing to the state to get them out of the problem. I think that's what the whole fucking point of the Great Depression and the goddamn FDR's fucking stupid economic policy. I think that was the whole goddamn idea, and I believe that they're redoing it now. And I think that the transfer of wealth over to China and India and Europe and all that sort of thing is exactly how they manufacture that.
Listen, FDR had some right, but not all. He had good ideas, and he also had bad ideas.
I disagree. I think everything that every bit of his policies was bad, from confiscating all of the gold to interfering with the treasury to doing all those sorts of things. And all it did was prolong the depression and made it so that he could, win 4 terms because everybody needed big daddy development.
Yeah, Kim is right. FDR was a piece of shit. In fact, all the shit they're bitching about fucking Donald Trump with his Twitter, FDR did with the radio waves.
Yeah, pretty much. But what I was trying to say is he actually helped in some spots, but not all. I'm just saying, like, he did certain stuff that was good.
That's a fair assessment, but I still generally disagree because people said, well, he got the unemployment rate down from 22% down to 16%. 28% down to 13%. Yeah, that's right. But that's the thing. It was already bad enough, so it couldn't do anything but get better from where it was. I believe that if he didn't have done the shit that he would have done, it would have been right back down to 4%. I think the whole goddamn thing that was his ridiculous policies fault and making it worse and worse. Now, it's true that him putting people to work probably did help people, but I think in the end it hurt them much, much more, because if he just didn't get involved, I think the correction would have been made, the creative destruction would have happened, and people would have got on probably a year later.
Yeah, but a lot of this as well. Like, this is why, like, they talk about, you have to have some type of motherfucking state to be able to control a little bit of the capitalistic fucking ventures inside of your country. Like, the idea that like a monopoly is so monopolistic that if one of your fucking businesses fail, your entire economy and the entire fucking country ends up going down the drain. That's something that is an actual true statement. It's something that you actually have to have a conversation about and go, well, maybe we shouldn't let these fucking companies get this goddamn big. Like, for instance, right now, there's an issue with Deutsche Bank in Germany, which every motherfucking day they're running a goddamn balance sheet that is fucking like 4 times larger than the fucking size of the whole German motherfucking economy, right? And so when they're running that, and they're ended up fucking running on a 2% motherfucking it's like a 2% fucking reserve.
3%.
Yeah. 3% reserve. If they lose 3% on either side, they end up fucking collapsing the entire fucking government and economy. That's something you really need to have a conversation about.
I completely agree, but what I'll take issue with there is monopolies can happen in the free market in the wild, but generally they don't. They'll fall first because you lose customer fucking confidence. Usually, if you have a monopoly, it's because the government propped it up. Like
this is remotely true, but eventually once a business gets so goddamn big, for instance, like Rockefeller, Bethlehem Steel, things of this nature.
That's exactly true, though. It's government regulations that create monopolies. I mean, maybe not the first one, but now that's why I'm so against the government getting involved in social media and big tech, because it's only going to make those companies stronger.
Exactly.
You remember back in the 80s and the 90s, like Nintendo was like the number one company at one time, because it was Sega, Nintendo, and Turbo.
Yeah.
Reason
Sorry, I was saying no to my dog.
well, listen. The reason why Nintendo had most of the product, because they had the means, and they had the developers, and they had the companies that are backing them.
They had the backing of the Japanese government, but they had good ideas too.
And then Sega came in. That was half U.S., half Japan. They went.
Well, there was other things that went into play there too. Nintendo was also the first one to license out their, they created the products. Software development kits, and they licensed out their technology so third parties could make games. Sega didn't. That's the main reason why they lost. Too. Yeah, I mean, Nintendo invested heavily in their, they leveraged. And
they also had a Nintendo Hotel,
and it worked. And it was also a successful company for like 100 years before that.
Yeah, But what I'm saying is they had their own hotels, they had their own taxis in the US, and they had everything.
Yo, Colin is so laid
But
back.
that doesn't. It's not a
compared to,
guarantee that they were going to be successful and beat out all the competition. If they'd made a shitty product, they would have failed too.
There you go. Now
but you prop up a business, or you create a bunch of regulations that allows only the biggest players to actually lawfully compete. Then you created a monopoly. Whether it's one company or 5, the effect is the same.
But listen even more. They had Technos. They had what the hell was that company that Acclaim, and they had also
Real Vision or something like that.
Yeah. They had that, and they had that for 20 years, and then that went downhill because, and also ColecoVision, they owned that too. And
wait, Rackets News, don't be talking shit about the meth business. That shit yourself, man. You don't need to be leaking those secrets out to the chat.
Dude, Rackets News, what's up, dude? I love your video.
And the reason why ColecoVision went downhill, though, is because Turbo was working with PC. That's like Microsoft, you know.
Yo, did you see the Mexicans are building their own trebuchets right now? Yeah,
like on the border. You're talking, yeah, no. It's they started the trebuchet and they look like teeter totters. Little do they know. little do they know that the end result is going to be a trebuchet to launch.
The only way to work is if a couple of guys jump off of something onto the other end of it.
Yeah, Excel, man. Like, yo, see if you can put that video up on the motherfucking screen and shit. Yo, they're already trying to trebuchet themselves.
Let me see. What was it like? Mexico teeter totters. Is that what I
Mexico wall teeter. They cut holes in the wall and put on teeter totters so kids on either side could play right with each other. And they're like, this is like nigga. Like, yo, you know exactly what this is gonna be. Yeah. This is gonna be my fucking start for the trebuchets.
Before I even put this video on, I want to let you know that one side looks really clean and the other side looks like shit.
Yo, this is some ridiculous shit. Like this was yo, man, listen, this started off with like the best of motherfucking intentions. I want everybody to know that, all right? This whole stream.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The trebuchet stage 1 build. They're just playing on it like, you know, nothing's gonna happen. Let's go. Let's see what happens.
Trebuchet stage 1.
This is fun.
Oh my god. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Little do you know, little Mexican kid, that when we're done with construction, you're gonna be thrown over to the other side of the fucking wall.
Yeah, somebody should tell these kids about the fucking Trojan horse, because I think they just made a Trojan catapult.
Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ. What a waste of money.
Although, I'll say, if this is all they're going to do with the border, I'm totally fine with this. You can fucking seesaw all you want. Just stay out.
Yeah, but you know what? There's better things to be building.
Yo, look how fat the
Mexican if they want to do this, it's totally fine. It's so much better than building a fucking
but you know they didn't
over.
do it efficiently.
Well, I would say, you see the American truck?
Those fucking teeter-totters they probably cost $10,000 a piece.
Also, I bet you that it wasn't these people's money. It was probably Open Society Foundation.
No,
you're fucking right.
George Soros bought these 3 teeter totters.
People who come up with ideas like that, they don't know how to fucking run
yeah, none like some robot and motherfucking.
I guarantee it was completely fucking. Oh, sorry, guys. I moved. Sorry.
If you could,
God damn it!
Look at this shit. They were having a smart idea. They're just gonna use that as a freaking excuse, and then they're gonna use it as like the way to come into the U.S.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's not as innocent as it looks.
Yeah, it's obviously just like grooming our culture to say, oh, see, look, there's nothing to worry about here. The children are playing. But again, like of all the things they could be doing, I'd rather it's this, even though I understand the nefarious intentions.
I mean, I guess if they're distracted doing nonsense, they're doing less damage in the government. I don't know. I just don't even know what to think anymore with the whole immigration thing. What the Democrats are trying to do. It's already out of control. So I mean,
it also makes me kind of wonder. Do you think that like when they set up these seesaws, like somebody was stuffing coke in one side, and then when they
now you're
saying one thing though.
I know once the Mexicans take over our country, I'm gonna illegally immigrate to Canada, and then I'm gonna call them racist for not giving me all the benefits.
Hey, yeah. I got a good idea. Put a bear moat around the walls so
bear
it comes
moat?
through.
Yo, I love this idea. I'm loving this idea right now. This is the best idea he's ever had.
Fucking
Like,
bear moat, dude, that's smart. That saves a lot of money on water, because that, you know.
No, bear moat is what it is. It's basically a bear cage that's open, so when somebody tries to get over, they get stuck right in the bear
And you
cage.
don't feed the bears, right? Because you want them to be hungry as fuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
These niggas is over here playing volleyball on the motherfucking border right now. Like, did we inadvertently start a fucking like a border volleyball net? Like, what the fuck is going on?
It turns out that walls are fun, and you can play.
He's right. It's all an effort to normalize.
They can play volleyball, badminton, tennis.
Yeah. It all serves to
we're bringing
push
people.
that
We're bringing
that
people together. We're bringing them together.
Illegal immigrants aren't doing anything illegal, and that you know, it's children in cages, and Republicans are evil, and Donald Trump is a racist, and because look, everyone's getting along. Look, we don't even need. Why does there even need to be a wall? Everybody's fine. Like, that's what this is about.
I kind of wonder how much weed was hidden in that volleyball.
I'm kind of interested in motherfucking this freehugs.org man joint. I want to know
all I got to say
freehugs.org.
All they need to do now is play that freaking Top Gun song. Play with the boys.
Somebody went out in Seattle. Somebody went out in Portland not too long ago with a MAGA hat on, saying free hugs, and he came back out with a broken face. He was all bloody and bruised and shit. So don't do that.
Yeah,
man. Just don't.
MAGA
do it.
hat's like a fucking punch me sign, dude.
Yep.
Don't do that.
Not around.
I mean,
here.
I hate to be a victim blamer, but if you're walking around with a MAGA hat, you're okay with getting attacked.
Neutral bastards gotta go and saying good night. And you know what, Tom Pease? We talked about this. Level. We talked about this in chat. We were gonna go through that entire fucking video, but what we're gonna do, we're still gonna go through the video, right?
Yeah.
But we're gonna do it. It's gonna be me and you. Maybe we'll pre-record. Maybe we'll live stream. We're just not gonna invite a bunch of people in. And we're definitely not going to let Cam and TFM in the same room at the same time while we're trying to get through this shit.
I'm not gonna lie. It was entertaining.
Oh no, it was great.
I enjoyed listening.
It was absolutely fantastic and completely ruined our plans for the entire stream.
It was good, but I was just I was like looking at him, like listen to what he's saying. Some of the parts he had, I agreed with him, but some of the parts he had wrong with like
what was saying
people.
Yeah, I was saying like I'm sorry, man. There's some CFM fans out there that are probably gonna say I don't think Cam was wrong about everything. This is what I said.
Cam was wrong. Cam was wrong because of the mentality of fucking human beings are kind of like fucking atoms. Like you can't if I threw like one atom up in the air, like really couldn't predict where it would land. But if like you throw a whole bunch of like fucking like water atoms up in the motherfucking air, like a bucket of water, I can tell you basically almost everything is going to get wet. Like you can pretty much predict there's going to be some outliers and some weird shit that might happen, but for the most part, you can pretty much accurately gauge what the fuck.
No, but that wasn't my point. My point wasn't that statistics are wrong. Is that saying statistics work in a black and white comparison is wrong?
No, I got you. You know what I mean? But like statistics are like okay, and like most of the shit that happened in the fucking election was just within the motherfucking it was within like the variances of what was actually gonna fucking happen.
I don't
you know what I mean? It was like an unnecessary fucking argument.
Tom, hold up for Cam. I don't know what you said, kid, but it touched my heart, man.
But I have to agree with Cam with some parts, and I'd agree with Cam I'd agree with Turd Monkeys on that one.
But... Yeah, Turd Monkey said a bunch of stuff that was right. Again, I just disagreed with what he was using those statistics. That's his argument to justify. But if you're doing it fucking wrong, I'm gonna call you on it. And if you fucking start using strawman on me, I'm gonna really call you on it. If you come aggressive at me, I'm gonna come aggressive at you. Just how it works.
But
the
one part I had to tell that he was wrong about was with the California thing. Like everybody that's like that lives in a communist state is gonna be like communist, but no, not really. It depends on how they.
Yeah, that I have to disagree with too, because I live in California and I've lived in Southern California and Northern California. I'm telling you right now, Northern California people hate Southern California more than you do.
I highly doubt that.
No, dude, they're fucking us over directly. You hate them because they influence other things, but they're like taking people's water away up here, dude.
Yeah, you hate them because they annoy you. Northern Californians hate them because they're taking their shit.
Yes.
If you look
I hate them the same way I hate Philadelphia people. Like, Philadelphia does the same thing to us. Like, they do the same exact shit to us.
It's exactly the same situation. If you look at an electoral map,
I finally agree with Tom for something.
If you look at an electoral map of California, you'll see that the vast majority of the state is red. It's just the coastal cities that are blue. Likewise for Pennsylvania, most of Pennsylvania is red. It's just the fucking big cities that are blue. And it's kind of like the medieval serfdom, where you have a group of elite in Europe. It was nobles. Here it's whatever the elites call themselves today.
The thing is with the big cities is they love they don't like capitalism. They like socialism because
it's not black. Well, it depends who you're talking about. The politicians love getting votes and having a nice, easy government job.
Yeah, I'm saying
that's the real problem. Is they convince people that they're going to give them free shit, and they get voted in, and then that's not
really the issue. The issue is that they rely upon each other way more than they do in a rural area. Like in a rural area, there's no bus routes. There's no subways. There's no fucking, I mean, there's like no goddamn fucking free heat for you.
Well,
there's no fucking
really
like
refute what I
shared
said,
shit. I got you, but like with
things are true.
Well, remotely, because like in the city you have to like fucking work together in order to survive because there's so many goddamn people in one.
But that's what I'm saying.
Area.
These politicians they aren't passing laws.
That's why I was talking
about things that work, trying to make things work, trying to efficiently plan a city and actually create more urban density and stuff like that. They're just doing shit to get votes, and it doesn't. It's sometimes it works. It's incidental if shit works.
Yep.
When it comes to politicians,
you're absolutely both right because
that's what I'm saying.
You're right because the kind of person that is attracted to a city is the kind of person that is much more likely to be a collectivist. Therefore, have things done for them rather than do things themselves. Whereas rural people are a bit of the opposite. Oh, there's some mix. There's some mixing. Right. Again, it's not black and white. It's nuanced.
Yeah,
but there's some communist motherfuckers up here too. Yeah.
The politicians actually love capitalism there because they can exploit it so hard. But then they'll lie and say that they're for the fucking the collectivist socialism so they can buy votes. They're playing both sides again, which is pretty common.
If you look at like the cities lately, they always go for socialism. If they go for capitalism, they screw themselves out of money. So they
go with what they're told is the right thing or the best thing for them, but they're being lied.
But that's absolutely true, but it's actually simpler than that. In that they go with what they think works. More than that, they go with what they think how much money they think they can extract from the rich people and how they can suck up to them when nobody's looking, and then how they can just fucking say they're going to sell all the votes away to everybody else when they don't think the fucking rich people are looking. Or they say, "Don't worry, we're actually on your side, but we're going to tell all these fucking poor people that we're going to give them the whole thing so they vote for us, and then we can work with you."
All right, well, Cam keeps saying more smart shit, and C. Thomas Golf City Peasant is telling me to go home because I'm drunk. Fuck you for snuffing me out.
Yo, all right, nigga, we're gonna shut this bitch down. We'll figure some shit out. Like
one more thing I had to bring up was the thing about the next few years. What I'm seeing is capitalism is it has its strong points and it has weak points. But if you look at the socialism aspect, it's not gonna hold up shit for like.
It's gonna collapse under its own weight when it just doesn't work and totally turns everything into Baltimore.
If they can go for their own side, if they can work together with the capitalists, they would actually stand in the middle. But nobody wants to stand in the middle because the schools, how they are taught in schools. So if you go through a higher education, you have a better standpoint of what capitalism is,
okay,
socialism.
All right. Yo, look, we're going to shut this bitch the fuck down. All right. I want to thank Simrise, Callan, my boy Cam, TFM for coming on and suffering through. And my boy Excel for running things. You know the situation, man. It's Tom P. Pino News. Fucking did.
Can a nigga get a plug before you shut it down, man?
Yeah.
Yo, man.
Plug your shit quick.
YouTube.com/insomnia. Saturdays and Wednesdays. If you want to hear me.
Saturdays and Wednesdays. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Fucking get that shit done. Cal on the cloud. You got anything to show?
Yeah, I got to share. Hold on.
Nigga, fucking take it too goddamn long. And y'all go check out that video with Cam's joint.
Here we go. Later, guys.
Oh, check out his Twitter. You know what I'm saying?
All right, well,
make sure you motherfucking tune in tonight to the fucking coffee table. Peace.
Yeah, but I'm heading straight to my bathtub to smoke some meth, man. Later, guys.